I know I said I wasn't going to shave a lot of the engine bay. Well, I lied.
Damn!
Now I'm working out some of the dents and factory weird shapes of the wheel arches in there. And I'm using a hammer and a dolly. And that hump is a little bit difficult to finesse, but if you just keep working at it, you'll get it. I did end up cracking through, which I ended up having to weld on the inside, but not a big deal. Now I'm getting rid of the aircon brackets because I'm going to put a full-size radiator in here. So I'm moving the radiator bracket over. And I did end up sandblasting all this stuff. I just didn't film it because it is a complete mess and it goes everywhere. And it's just easier to just do it without having to worry about my camera. If you guys are going to do this, get one of these belt sanders. It is insane. It works like nothing else, and I couldn't even imagine trying to do this engine bay without it, or my 3-inch DA. Those made everything so much easier. Okay, so you don't need to do this for this exact location. I was just doing this for demonstration purposes, that you can weld a little tab on and clamp it down so that you don't have to sit there and hold it in tight areas, like especially on the firewall. If you don't have somebody to sit there and hold it for you, this works out really well. I'm building a separate bracket for my front bumper, so if you're wondering why it's all welded up, that's why. Oh, and if this is boring to watch, watching me grind and weld every hole, trust me, it's way more boring doing it in real life. Yeah, so whatever you're thinking time-wise of this, like how long it actually is gonna take, whatever you're thinking in your head, times it by 10. Because it does take forever, but the end result is totally worth it, I think. Old school body guy showed me this a long time ago. You remember taking your pencil on your desk at school and just like making a line with it with your pencil? It's the same concept with this. With any openings you need to weld in, you just scribe it with your pencil like that, cut it out. You might have to trim it up a little bit, but like even after you cut it out, you might have to grind it a little to get it to fit correctly. But this is the best way to, you know, get what you actually need. I just welded a little bracket in here. At this point, my argon had ran out on my welder, so nothing's pretty. But I just wanted it to match on both sides. I didn't want to completely cut it out, like just weld in. I wanted to be able to have options for, you know, turbo, stuff like that. Nothing. This brick just decided to stop working. Tore it apart, and I just disconnected the plug wires here and here and cleaned them, and back in business, baby. Before you start applying any body filler at all, make sure you wipe it down and sand off whatever you need. So this right here, I know a lot of people are cringing seeing this, but I'm actually showing you that you can make a mixing like platform or whatever you want to call it, like a little tray. Just spread some filler on it, let it dry. Don't use that filler, but now after it's dry, you can use it as a actual tray because it's not going to absorb into the cardboard. Now you can mix right on there. You don't have to worry about it. And that dolphin glaze, this is my first time using it, but it is awesome. It is cheap and it is killer, but you just got to remember that it's only 2% of hardener in that. This stuff sands like butter. I like to use glaze filler for this in the beginning just because it helps shape it a lot easier than actual filler. It sands a lot easier, and then I go over it with filler and then glaze again. I sanded all this body filler down with 80 grit. I know a lot of you are cringing when I say 80 grit. There's something that I want to add in here about sanding with the right grits when you're doing body filler. There are a ton of YouTubers out there that sit there and say, oh man, I've been sanding forever with 320. They're also using Bondo brand body filler. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to take any advice from anybody, I'm not saying you have to take it from me, but don't take any advice from any YouTuber that's telling you that you should use Bondo brand. No one should be using Bondo brand. Here's the best way I can describe it for you when it comes to body filler. If you're sanding a hump of body filler and you're using 320 to try and sand it, 320 is too fine of a sandpaper for it to cut into that body filler correctly. So what's going to happen is that hump's just going to smooth over. That's it. You're never going to get that completely flat. Start low, like 80 grit, and then you work your way up. You can go 80 grit and then buzz over it. Like if you're about 95% with your body work, then you buzz over it with your DA, like 150. 150 is plenty to be put into primer. I'm gonna throw some self-etch primer on here. Sem's high build surface primer. Just for this piece for demonstration purposes. The rest of it's gonna be, you know, regular 2K primer. But I just wanna show you, like, this is the process that I like to use. I do 1 to 2 coats of body filler, and then I'll go into primer, and then I'll block sand that out and keep going up my sanding grit. Because sometimes when you're doing this, you might add more body filler when you don't actually need it. And if you get a coat of primer down and then you block sand it out with a guide coat, it'll show you where your low spots are, and then you know where you gotta fill. Doing another coat on this right now, like, there are some low spots. It's like camouflaged in, you know what I mean? You're not gonna be able to find where all them spots are. You're gonna either miss stuff or you're gonna add filler in and create more work for yourself when you don't need to. If you got the time, this is the way I like to do it, and it works really well. They actually sell a guide coat. This stuff will gum up your sandpaper, but I don't have any guide coat right now, so you just want to mist it. So then when you sand it, the spots that are left are going to be the spots that have the little black dots in it, and then you know you need to fill it in some more. There you go. Like I said, this is the first coat of filler, so I mean, it's not going to be anything impressive right now, but you'd be amazed at how well this is going to look just after 1 sand of the primer. And then we're just only going to need maybe 1 little tiny touch-up coat, and then that last coat of primer, 1 more block sand, and this would be perfect. Pretend this is 150 grit. It's 80 grit right now. I'm just doing it again, like I said, for demonstration. I just want to show you how this works. So it's hard to get a flat spot on this to the block, but now you see low spots, high spots. So almost there. So those two spots need a little bit of fill. And then you'd be using 150. Put those pieces of filler on there, sand those down with 150. And then prime it again. And then you sand it down with 220. And then you go over it with a DA with a pad at 320. And then it's ready for sealer. The pad I'm referring to is for Hook It. It's the Velcro sandpaper that you can use on DAs. Now, there are some really expensive paper that you can get, but I've recently just discovered this new sandpaper that's Hook It, and it's only 10 bucks for a 30 pack of sandpaper for the 3-inch DA. Now, to give you a reference on how much sandpaper I actually used in this, I used about 90 pieces of sandpaper. So if you were to buy 3M's product, that would probably cost you over 100 bucks. This only costs $30 for all that. Little tip on these arches and everything else. Everything's shaped weird in here. So I found out that the best thing for these arches and everything, to block it, I used wet sanding block. You are going to go through a lot of body filler. I mean, there's a lot of surface area on all this. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be filled. Little tiny pinholes of like welds and stuff filled in with just only, like a dime size of body filler. It's not going to happen. Here's where we're at. I got hours left to do. I'm gonna skip over all this for now because it's boring as hell. With YouTube magic, this will all be done. We'll get our first coat of primer on there, and then I'll start doing my touch-ups and stuff. 4,000 hours later. What I'm spraying is wax and grease remover, and those wipes that I have, I'll put them in the description because they're lint-free. You don't want to wipe this stuff down with like a paper towel. You're going to leave residue everywhere. It's not going to turn out right. And then, yeah. And I got this new paper. It's weird. It's like this plastic paper. I don't know if I like it or not. It clings a lot of dirt, which I guess is a good thing, but if you have it out in the shop, it just, you pretty much have to throw away the first little bit that you pull out. But I'm just going over everything with self-etch primer. You just need a mist of this. You don't really need it to be solid. You just need it to cover up the actual bare metal. Now, I am putting in the primer right now, and it is, you need to go slow with it because you want that to build up. It doesn't matter if you get any runs in here and stuff, you're going to sand all of this back down. So be very, very considerate of applying it.
Dang! You like my Coke bottle? That little bit of holes ain't gonna do anything at all for the inside. I mean, I don't even have this covered, so whatever. That looks a little wavy right there, though. See it in the light? That is such a pain in the ass doing these roundabout things. But that firewall looks choice. Looks so good. Yeah, buddy. And then this is gonna be where the bumper mounts. I have an idea for this because that's why I shaved it, but you have to wait for that. But woo! Yeah, finally making some progress. Good Lord, this is so hard. I also knew that these weren't going to be filled in yet all the way. I needed to see some progress just for myself because, I mean, I've been sanding on this crap until my actual fingers were bleeding. There's over like 200 holes welded in this, and it's just, it's a lot more than what it looks like. I can already tell right there, see that little bit where that hump is? I can tell right there that needs a little bit more. But that's why you do this. You block sand all this stuff out, and then you're gonna be able to tell exactly what needs what. And that's why there's guys on YouTube that are doing this in just 2 coats, and that's it. They're not doing any more coats than that. There's no way anybody that's doing a good job on this can do that in 2 coats, first off, and then just go straight to paint. Not possible. Unless it looks like complete hammered dog crap. Like, you need to do at least 2 separate primer sessions for this, 100%. And whenever I'm doing any body work, I don't do anything less than 4 coats every single time I'm doing primer. And most of the time I can get it in, 1 session of 4. But this is just so tight and so much and so little areas to do. Like, you really, really need to do this twice. Like, take the extra time because you're gonna be pissed at yourself if you go to paint this and then it looks like poop. Take your time, put some pride in your work. So this is where the old seam sealer was. I ground all that down, but I honestly don't know how all that shit even got there because I cleaned all that off, but I don't know if you guys can hear the thunder or not, but it's raining pretty good. So this is taking a hot minute to do coats in between because of how humid it is. It is what it is. It's only 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't need sleep. No big deal. Got this bad girl plugged in. And then I'll let this just sit on overnight and then I'll get to sanding it. But I gotta do a little guide coat. So you don't want to put a lot on here because it'll gum up your tape or your paper. But sometimes you can't help it. Yeah, that's plenty. That spot got a crap load. Holy cow. And right there.
Now this is where the Velcro interface pad comes in. It's like a sponge in between the sandpaper and the DA pad. So you can get around those arches nice and smooth, and that way you don't have sharp edges. This sanding block also has Velcro sandpaper. using a tack cloth and the air from the gun to get all the nibs and stuff off of it before I spray. One thing to remember, this is waterborne paint. Axalta Chromax Pro. This requires 1.5 coats. This is not your typical paint where you need to do multiple coats. And I'm so glad that I had water to do this because there's so many tight areas. Like if it was solvent based, there'd probably be a lot of runs. I mean, it was pretty cold that night. All right, base coat's on. It's wet right now, but ooh-wee, buddy, she looks good. Oh, it feels good. Now it's time for the magic. I don't even think video does this justice because it's like, this color is insane.
Finally get paid for the get down. You can't tell me shit now about time. Do you know how many lines I done put down? Vibes I done sent out. But we ain't here to dig. I'll up the market till they come red carpet the kids. Success still the target. Soon I'll be crossing that bridge. But can't bring everybody with me, family only. I got some people think I owe a favor, barely know me. That's why my focus on the road, it's all I know. I see them sticking close to play the wall and watch my growth. Cause I got something they never had. So get on the beat and I need a helipad. I float, I'm fly, you know where I'm from, so it comes as no surprise. Like the South with a mean vernacular, dream spectacular. I keep a queen.
Right, the camera's picking it up now. Ooh-wee. Well, if you guys are painting and you're worried about bugs getting in your paint, bugs are attracted to reflection. So that is why bugs go into paint a lot. So if you turn your lights off while your clear is drying, you'll get less bugs in your paint. So just a little tip. saying? And it came out pretty clean. I mean, for the most part. I mean, I didn't clean the floor or nothing. You can see how dirty this is. I didn't really care, but I kind of wish I would have done a little bit better now. But I mean, really, it's not dirty. Like, that's a little dry right there. I'm gonna have to buff that. But I mean, she's clean. There's a nib. Or is that a bug? Maybe a bug. I'm glad that spot doesn't look funky with clear now. It looks okay. Happy about that. Ooh-wee, buddy. Dang, son. God. And around here, I didn't do that great of a job with the bodywork because there's going to be caps. So it's going to be covered.